Welcome to the Black Room.
It's nice to be here. I like what you've done with the place.
Thanks. I decorated a little bit.
I can see that.
I got it all fixed up for you.
Very nice. Very nice.
Well, I think the first thing that we have to talk about is Aerosmith, because I have been telling people for the last couple of weeks that we call this.
Yeah, you and I were both of a like mind the entire year saying, hope so, but something just told us both, our spider sense of watching this happen for decades with bands, especially as they get to where Aerosmith is, we both were like, I just don't see it. And I'm sad that we were right. I like being wrong when I predict the end of a band's touring career.
I have this kind of still little spark of hope that maybe some things will change over the next year or two, and they'll be able to say, hey, we could put something together. But if that happens, I feel like they won't be insurable for a big tour. And it'll be like a Vegas residency if we get anything at all, if there's like that sliver of hope.
Yeah, no, I agree. They would have to have something that's their completely controlled environment and a real easy schedule. And that's the obvious solution. If they want to do this, just go right back to Vegas and just do a weekend a month or whatever they feel Steven can do. It's of all the guys ever that you thought would like come out of the game with a bad larynx. I mean, he was the last guy, you know what I mean? It's just crazy that it just turned out that way for him.
Maybe it's the conspiracy theorist in me, but I still am like, busted larynx. Like that's a car accident level injury. I mean,
I don't know. At this point, it's like if he had come back and sounded better than ever, then I would have been more like, okay, what really happened? But because it is really over, I'm just not going to think about it.
Well,
it's also just a drag.
It also kind of seemed a little sketch because 2 or 3 days before that announcement, you've got Joe Perry doing an interview where he's like, oh yeah, Steven's got some songs in his back pocket. I wouldn't be surprised if we've got new Aerosmith on the way. And then all of a sudden it was like, done.
You know, I know I don't want to name names or necessarily, I don't want to put a light on somebody that doesn't look for it, but I know a family member, and he was stunned by the announcement. He's on the inside. So I don't think it was, Joe might very well have thought maybe they were probably talking about doing it. And from, just putting the little breadcrumbs together that I know, I think it was one of those things that up until they made the announcement, they really thought, I think the other guys at least thought they were really going out. I could be wrong, but there was genuine surprise and shock from people very much on the inside.
The whole reschedule seemed so real that even we were like gaslighted into thinking maybe it is going to happen. It seems so completely unrealistic to think that this is going to happen, but maybe they will pull it off. And then you're like, oh, okay. Well,
no, it's a drag. Yep.
Do you want to stick with drama? Because there's so much Journey.
That's my favorite. I just, what a complete clown car. I mean, and Neil Sean came out his whole statement over the weekend where it was just like, let me go down point by point by point and tell you what's happening. I'm always team Neil, so I was happy to see him respond.
It's funny because I actually had to have an argument with Mike Vanderheel, who's the drummer for Y&T, and he's not team Kane, but he's team hate Sean.
Okay.
And he's team Valerie is what it is. He's Valerie.
Yeah.
So every time I'm like, this lawsuit makes no sense. He's like, yeah, but Neil sued back in 2017 or 18 or I'm like, brother, like, come on, man. One thing has nothing to do with the other. And two things can be true. Neil Sean can be a guy who spends way too much money and is difficult to get along with on tour. And Jonathan Cain can be filing a stupid lawsuit.
Yeah. Remember, Jonathan Cain goes home every night to a person who speaks in tongues.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. The sanity meter, oddly enough, ticks towards Neil Sean in this whole thing, which is not easy.
And the Yoko syndrome is strong on this one too. I keep hearing over and over, have you seen Neil's wife, spending the money, Neil's wife. And I'm like, listen, dude, the wives cancel each other out on this one.
Oh my God, for her, if that, I mean, she'd have to be working at the batshit crazy world for a while to catch up to Paula.
Yeah, and if
I'm
I
sorry, man.
honestly, if I had to choose between them, if it was like, listen, eternity on a desert island, choose a wife of Journey member, it's not going to be Jonathan Cain's.
No, I'm not. Again, look, I grew up in the South. I'm not getting around anybody who claims to be speaking in tongues. Okay. No, stop it. Put down the collection plate and speak English to me.
Yeah,
Not buying
traveling
it.
showed preachers are especially bad in your area, right?
Man, brutal,
Oh,
brutal.
now tell the people this from your insider's perspective. This is what
Mhm.
I've been saying. How far off or on am I on this? Even if it were true, even if Neil was spending $1 million per credit card, et
Right.
cetera,
Yeah.
even if we assume the worst
Mhm.
of what Jonathan Cain has claimed is true, um, how does that even matter? Because from what I understand, he needs to spend that money on the company credit card because all of those things that they're describing are write-offs,
Yeah.
right? The
Right.
clothes, shoes, the jewelry, the whatever,
Yeah.
that's wardrobe. It
Mhm.
has to go on the company card because it's a write-off.
Yeah.
In a year, when a band makes a whole lot of money because they're touring and they're selling a ton of merch that year, and then they're going to end up having to take a year off because they saturate their markets
Right.
at some point, those years they don't make as much money. They need all the write-offs they can get in those years where they do.
Yeah.
Hotel expenses, if you're on a stadium tour, I mean, I'm sure Joe Elliott is not staying at the fucking Ramada, right?
I don't think so. No.
So
And
if
I mean, they're coming here this weekend, and I'm just the idea that they're getting on stage and playing those songs and smiling and not, bringing it to the show. It just tells me, well, none of this was really this is all just nonsense. I mean, if the guy was truly bankrupting the band, they would not be on the road. If they were really not paying their crew, those crew guys those are not roadies. Those
Mhm.
are professional technicians and tour managers and production people. They would go home. You stiff
Absolutely.
them once, they're not going to come to you in catering and go, "Hey, dude, can you give me a loan on next week's payday?" They go home. They're hardcore professionals. There's another tour waiting for them.
And it's not like they're not getting paid weekly or biweekly, right?
Yeah, yeah, not a
If
chance.
if suddenly there was no money to pay the crew, they would know within a week or two, and this whole thing would be off the rails.
They would be off the rails. They would be off the tour. They would immediately put somebody else in there, and somebody would change plans to get on there, or who knows who it would be. But yeah, you don't the whole lawsuit where he said, like, we can't pay our people. That's the first thing I read, and I went, well, this is not true. I'm sorry, I'm not buying it. If you don't pay the crew leaves. It's real simple.
I'm calling bullshit on this thing in so many different ways because people don't understand how it works. And I'm like, the money does not get funneled through the business partners and then to the staff. The
Yeah,
business partners get paid last, right? I mean,
generally, usually, yeah.
the tour money comes in and the merch money comes in and the
Hmm.
accountants get a hold of it. And the
Yeah.
accountants pay all the expenses, which includes the crew and the staff.
And
And
includes Neil's upgrades. I mean, generally speaking, like, you might be spending some of the money as it's coming in, but not all of it, not even close to that. And whatever you're paying when it's all set, when they're evening up at the end of the year, it's coming out of your net.
exactly, Neil would get billed back
Yeah.
for something that was not an agreed upon expense in the
Yeah.
business agreement.
Yeah. I mean, if he spent $1 million more than Jonathan Cain, and at the end of the tour, there's $3 million left between the two of them, well, guess who gets more of that 3 million? The guy that didn't spend $1 million of it already. This is not the 1960s. This is not the Grateful Dead where Mickey Hart's dad is ripping the band off or whatever that whole thing was. These are certified accountants and business managers and people who have other clients and who would make damn sure not to throw their own career over the cliff by helping Neil Sean screw Jonathan Cain. Like, when you're dealing with lawyers and accountants, you're not their only client. They won't throw away their license and their reputation for you. It's like, no, they're on the up and up. And if you're at that level anyway.
So here's my last question. Because of the nature of the industry, there are a lot of allowable write-offs that most people would not consider.
Nowhere near as many as there used to be, man. The 90s was awesome.
Fair.
Every penny spent in the day, it was all research. Every magazine, every book, every movie you saw, research. I'm a touring musician. I got to keep up with the ongoing trends. It was awesome.
I'm still writing off my cable bill.
Yeah. Well, sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Make no mistake.
And I think that people don't understand that those purchases have to go on the company card in order to be write-offs.
Yeah.
And then the accountants take care of all that.
Yeah.
But when you have a lawsuit, all of a sudden your accounting becomes public record.
Mm-hmm.
And it's entirely possible that somebody from the IRS could suddenly just take a notice because, hey, these guys in Journey have been fighting over money for a long time. I'll bet you they're really like a great audit target. Does that happen?
I don't know about that. I know that in personal experience and then in other people I know, like when bands break up, the worst thing they can do is announce that they're breaking up. Unless you're REM, unless you've taken care of business from day one and you're all set and you don't have any outlying anythings, you can say, hey, we're done as a band. Thanks. It's been great. 90% of bands that come out and say, we're done. Let me tell you what immediately stops: royalty payments. That's how it's been for decades. If you announce we're finished, therefore we're not touring, therefore we're not making new money, you're not going to want to pay lawyers to go after your label to get your money that they owe you. And they have lawyers on retainer who will just hang on to it forever. It's the oldest, it's organized crime.
I think I heard that from you first. And
when a lot of bands, you don't understand. It's like for the business side of things, I mean, unless you're clear, unless you have no concerns, and unless you signed ironclad contracts, and unless you really know what's going on and you trust your attorneys, et cetera, you can always find. You think the biggest problem you have right now is you just hate your band? Well, wait till all the money stops overnight because the world knows you're not going out to make more money to afford people to go get you the money you're supposed to already have. Ouch.
And it looks like that's what's about to happen because they just canceled their whole European tour.
Oh, Journey did? I didn't see that.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Yeah. And before the European tour is a Japanese tour that hasn't been canceled. And
that could be, I mean, who knows? Maybe it is a great way to get out of a tour that's not selling well. I mean, but I'd be surprised if, European fans, they keep coming back, man.
So of course, Jonathan is blaming the cancellation on the lawsuit. He's like, I had to sue Neil and now we're having to cancel Europe because Neil is making everything so hard for us to function. And it's like, that doesn't jive, right? That's just
no. He's got some people or a person in his ear who is not looking out at the big picture here.
The hardest part about this is that Journey is synonymous with the San Francisco Bay Area.
And of course, I know. Yeah, it's crazy. It's really nuts. And I mean, on some level, I mean, when you go through everything they've been through, you can't expect them to feel like it's still a band. We're still a team and we're partners. I get that. But this is just a whole nother level of, you got to be kidding me. How can you not settle this stuff privately? What do you think the end result of this could possibly be, other than a whole lot more headaches?
Yeah. How hard is it? I mean, you're drowning in cash.
And I also, and maybe this is unique for people in bands, but if I'm Jonathan Cain and I've written all those songs and I have that mountain of cash to live on, why would I spend my time with people I don't like? Like, what's it really serving? Just go put a new band together and go play what you want to play, when you want to play, with people you want to play with. That's how I always approached everything. So, that's why I'm not a billionaire, I guess, at the same time. But at some point, it's like, what are you guys doing? You're in your 70s, or if you're not, you're going to be real soon, and you're spending all this time with someone that you want to. I just don't get it. It's like, enough already.
Yeah,
Journey's eternal. You're going to be fine.
Go be the Stones. Tour once every 4 or 5 years, and
there is that.
Stop arguing in between.
Yeah.
The best thing that could ever happen would be for Steve Perry to drop a solo album in the middle of all this.
Oof, man. That'd
He's
be
been
pretty
talking
strong.
about it, you know?
Man, I saw a thing in one of these articles about the deal he made when he left the band, which I never knew, which, he still gets paid. I mean, my God, what a deal he came up with. See, that's a guy who has the right attorneys. He's listening to the right people.
And
Yeah.
he's like not giving a shit
Not
about
at all.
any of the fame. Like clearly Neil and Jonathan are needing the fame issues.
Yeah, I think so.
That this is all still happening. And Perry was like, best thing I ever did was tap out of that.
No question.
So now the last question I had is Foreigner is going into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame October 19th, and nobody in the touring Foreigner camp is eligible.
Right.
Because they weren't there. They're not part of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And they've been on the farewell tour. I think I've complained about this once or twice. They've been on the farewell tour for at least 2 cycles now. We've had him at Shoreline and we've had him at Concord. And Jeff Pilson, who is the former bass player for Dokken and now the bass player for the Foreigner touring band, said that this farewell tour has no end date.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's pretty great. Well, I mean, by that thinking, every band on earth is on a farewell tour, I guess.
Yeah, and the real killer is that it's like, obviously, there's going to be a boost in Foreigner nostalgia when they go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Like the Rock Hall automatically, it's like winning a Grammy used to be. It automatically gives you a big boost. Sales-wise across the board, and they're going to tour for at least another 2 years.
Sure.
Do fans just not give a shit anymore?
No. I mean, I think, we are all in, we're all at various levels of the sunset lap of our life. And if the music that you loved when you were 18 is readily available and it sounds kind of like it used to, I think there's a lot of people with $300 in their pocket who are like, hell yeah, I'm going to go get me some of that. And that's never going to go away.
That is facts. And I think that I have to let it go, which is something I'm working on. And that the vocal minority are the ones who are like, no original members, heard of her.
With the case with a lot of these bands is if the original band got back together, they'd be nowhere near as good as the band that's out there working hard to be the band. There is a moment in a lot of bands and musicians' lives where they're just not going to put the same effort and energy into it every night. I mean, there are bands out there touring with, if not all, at least key members and significant original members who are just going through the motions in a way that no second and third stringers would ever do. The guys in Foreigner now, they're trying to be Foreigner. And the original members are just kind of old and being like, you still want to hear this? Okay. I don't know that about Foreigner. I'm using that as an example. But there are plenty of bands that you go see them and it's like, no, they needed some new blood. And sometimes a complete transfusion is probably better than what would be there if it was still a couple of original guys and a bunch of who the hell are theys?
The complete transfusion.
Yeah. It happens.
That's going to be the title for the podcast.
There's the old joke. Who was it? It was one of Larry the Cable Guy. The only thing he ever said that I thought was hilarious. He said he went to college in the South, I think at University of South Carolina, and he said my 25-year college graduation, my fraternity had a reunion, and he goes, we were going to get this Marshall Tucker tribute band, but they were so expensive, we ended up just getting the Marshall Tucker band. And I just fell out of my chair, and I was like, you get those old bands back together right now. I mean, you'd much rather see younger guys who are just dying to be there and still trying to earn their key, like, oh my God, I love and respect this music so much. The people that made it 50 years ago, 40 years ago, they're like, hey, it's still a paycheck. Again, not everybody. I'm just saying there's a chance. There's a chance.
I mean, the Zombies have been touring for 70 years or whatever it is.
No, they're an exception to every rule because Colin still hits every note, and that makes no sense. That guy, I haven't seen him in 10 years, but I saw him a few times in the last 15 years, and I stood there just in disbelief at how amazing he sounded and the band sounded. There's still 3 of the original guys. They were incredible.
See, now I wish I'd seen him. I was always like, the Zombies, what?
No, that Colin is still just last I saw anyway. Well, it's been a while, but yeah, that was one of the exceptions to the rule. It's kind of like You know who else? If you go see Squeeze and Glenn Tilbrook still hits all those notes, and you're like, what is happening? How are you doing that? You know, I mean, there's a few of those singers, they're hitting their 70s and they're still getting all the range. It's incredible when you see it.
I remember Rob Halford telling me that his upper register kind of went away for a while and then all of a sudden came back. So I don't know how that vocal instrument works, but.
Well, you know, we haven't spoken really since the Stones did their tour. Mick has never sounded better on stage than in 2024. I don't know if you saw them this time around. I didn't go. Okay, I didn't go. But I'm watching YouTube clips and my jaw is just dropping every time. He sounded incredible.
Not trying to be judgy, but I really thought you were going to go.
Well, you know, it's been a summer. Like I'm telling you, been a lot going on, man.
All right. I'm not gonna hassle you. I thought for sure you would have gone, and I was gonna do like a whole podcast of nothing.
My intent was to see them in Chicago, and somewhere between another bout with COVID, which was brutal this time, shockingly enough, and then right when I got over it, my wife got it. So we were just taking care of each other for like almost 3 weeks total. It was bad. It was like, whoa, you got to be kidding me! Still again. And then just other things, and it's just this whole summer. I mean, it's mid-August, and just yesterday, my wife and I are sitting here going, "What the hell just happened? How are we? What in the world?"
Yeah.
So, a lot of my brilliant ideas didn't quite come to fruition this summer.
And I can't catch COVID. I went to Comic-Con, where it's like, you know, nerds everywhere.
Yeah.
And my friend who I stayed with, went to the convention with, and then saw a Deadpool movie every night with, tested positive, and I still didn't come down with it.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah, I've got some kind of super immunity or something.
Clearly.
I caught it once at a Metallica show and then never again.
Oh, they are here this weekend in Minneapolis. I think so. It's a game time decision. You know, stadium shows are hard work, man.
Parking comes through, you'll go.
You know me very well. It's all about the parking. If
well,
I can pull,
I know a guy.
Oh, I will let you know. It's really just going to be, they're sandwiching my birthday is what it is. So they're here Friday and Sunday. Saturday's my birthday. Got friends in from out of town. There's a lot going on. So it's going to be like, if I make it, it'll be Sunday night, and Sunday nights are tough because Monday morning comes early. We'll just have to see what happens.
Well, happy early birthday. And
thank you.
Tell me what you got coming up on the show tonight.
Tonight on the show, for no particular reason, we're going to talk about rock star dads, including Lars Ulrich, and just the impact of the child years, the dad years, I should say, on a lot of our favorite rock bands.
Oh, yeah, it made a very big difference, especially with Metallica.
Yeah, it certainly did.
And now their kids are opening for them practically. You know, they're doing the in-between night. Are you going to see the kids? That's something you could do. The kids usually play the in-between night on the Saturday night.
I did not know that part of it, so we'll see.
Yeah, Otto and Bastardane, right? So Bastardane has one of James's kids and one of Lars's kids, and Otto has one of Robert's kids.
Okay.
And so those two bands will play a club.
They'll be in the club. Okay.
The night in between.
That is my birthday night, so I can't make any promises.
Yeah, no.
You know, there's other things on the docket.
Just putting it out there.
Yeah. All right.